The Polestar 3, I know we've seen it before, but until now, nobody has driven it in New Zealand. Until now. It's time to find out, was it worth the long wait? Welcome to the garage. Subscribe to see the first drives of New Zealand's newest and best cars driven on New Zealand roads in New Zealand conditions. I'm happy to admit I'm not the most patient person, so waiting this long to drive Polestar 3 hasn't been easy. October 2022, 19 months ago. That's how long we've waited. And it's been an excited wait. Like everyone who first saw this when it was unveiled at Copenhagen, we're excited about the PS3. G'day there, welcome to Copenhagen. We're here at the global launch of the Polestar 3 and this is the car. It is stunning. We're going to take a close look. I'm aware that I've already filmed a walk around with the Polestar back in Copenhagen, so please forgive me if I don't spend a whole lot of time beside the static Polestar 3. Today's all about getting a driving impression. If you do want to see that walk around, and I will mention the details today, there's a link in the description below. Basically, this is the same as the car we looked at in Copenhagen. Performance pack, 380 kilowatts, 910 Newton meters. Out of curiosity, 0 to 100, 4.7 seconds. See what I mean? Can't wait to drive. Well, first impressions, it's smooth and comfortable and quiet, but you expect that from an EV. But even as we just dawdle through Auckland traffic in our first few Ks in this car, it's very clear that Polestar have got this car right. It's a real buzz to have this car on Kiwi tarmac for the first time. Well, first let's address why there's been such a delay in us getting to drive the Polestar 3. Well, it's all down to just how high-tech this car is. I'm talking AI. Tech boffins will get this one. There's a high-performance NVIDIA central core computer processing data from sensors and cameras all around the car. Simply, that makes this car ultra-safe and clever. And in 2025, it'll get even smarter. There's LiDAR coming. That's 3D laser scanning. I'm talking a real-life force field. Man, it's so easy to go down a technological rabbit hole with this car. There's just so much going on with that big brain. But here's the thing, it's going on in the background. You're sort of oblivious to it, and that's great. I reckon that's tech at its best. So the result is, this car doesn't feel digital. It just feels delightful. Let's talk about the quietness, because it's not just down to this being an EV. There's no wind noise. And when you look closely, you'll see why, because this looks like a simple and sleek, well, almost a Hot Wheels looking car from a distance, but it's actually an aerodynamic masterclass. This is a decent sized SUV, but the drag coefficient is just 0.29. That's better than most sports cars. And it usually takes a jelly mold sort of shape to better that sort of number. But this car doesn't sacrifice design dignity. Instead, there are subtle wings and aero blades to channel air, helping efficiency, stability, and that quiet, including a front wing which reduces drag by improving laminar flow. And yes, I had to Google that one. Basically, it keeps the air smooth and close to the body. Then there's the frameless mirrors, which are 30% more slippery than regular ones. And there's retractable door handles. Even what seems like a showy feature is clever, like the trademark Polestar rear light bar. It changes in brightness to match the ambient light. On to practicality. This is a 5-seater, but a big 5-seater, thanks to a nearly 3-metre wheelbase. There's 597 litres of luggage space behind the seats. If you fold them down, 1,411. Now before you ask, range. Polestar 3 has a 111 kilowatt hour battery that gives up to 610 kilometres of range, LTP of course. But later on, a single motor version will offer even more range, and the charging is up to 250 kilowatt hours, so super quick. Still with the electrics, there's another trick the Drivetrain has up its sleeve to improve range, and that is when you're not pushing things along, like I'm trying not to now, it disengages that rear axle, becomes a pure front wheel drive. But when you do decide to hurry things up, the rear axle gets to work, and I really mean gets to work. It can send more power to the outside wheel, some clever torque vectoring clutches. It's the same kind of system you find in a lot of supercars. The simpler version just slows the inside wheel. This version though, let's just say it's more about go than whoa. And it's mega fun. This car is so nimble. It fits with that 0 to 100 time of 4.7 seconds. And I mentioned nimble. There's active suspension. It has 3 settings. There's standard. There is one called nimble, yes, which makes this car probably frisky. And I do mean that, or firm, if you really want to get things hunkered down. 2-chamber air suspension. It's a seriously impressive setup. And it can adjust itself 500 times a second. You know, all those high performance touches may seem a bit of overkill in an EV, but we are in a changing world. This car is up against the likes of the Porsche Macan EV, the BMW iX, Audi Q8 e-tron, and the Mercedes EQE. That is not just the best of Germany, but the best of the world. It's more than a match from a style standpoint, not to mention refinement. Price-wise, Polestar starts at $169,990. This performance version, $184,990. For all the safety, tech and performance, it is that Scandinavian design that gives Polestar 3 the biggest edge over the big four. Nothing is flashy, but it is flash. The seats are sublimely comfortable. You know, this is not so much a cockpit as a futuristic lounge environment. The textiles and materials are all eco-focused, they're upcycled, and of course sustainable. And over 85% of Polestar 3 is recyclable. There's a driver's display and heads up, but it's this 14.5-inch screen that runs the show, which on this launch edition includes a Bowers & Wilkins 25-speaker audio system complete with Dolby Atmos. Yes, really. And it runs on an upgraded version of the Google Android Automotive, which was first seen on the Polestar 2. So a whole lot of gadgets, but it's gimmick-free. How Polestar is that? But I suppose the big thing is no surprises. This is exactly the car we saw in late 2022. The key thing though is it delivers from a driving point of view, not just as a luxury car, but as a performance car. Power is great, but more importantly, the chassis is a delight. I just love it. I suppose the big question is, was it worth the wait? Well, far too long a wait, but the answer is yes. A resounding yes.